All right. Well, it looks like I tripped some people up in my messages because we had a previously different link for midweek momentum, but I scrapped that so I could use the standard meeting room. You guys figured it out. That's good. I didn't think it was too complicated. Just click the link directly from the email, but hey, everyone has their system down. So let me give people a minute, and then I've got some slides. I'm not sure how this backdrop happened. That's I think that's Mexico. I had that on my screensaver all winter to feel like I wasn't in the cold Great White North. But now I'm not sure how it became my backdrop on Zoom. Anyway, it does the job. All right, iPad 4. We got Liz, Martha, good stuff. So I'll quickly jump in here. First off, though, I mean, oftentimes we know what we should and shouldn't be doing, but a simple Google search before this call just to see what the Canadian Cancer Society suggests we reduce to put ourselves at the least risk. You know, you never know. We have perfectly healthy people that get cancer and we don't really understand why. But overall, the trend suggests it's avoidable if we do certain things, right? So first off, getting older, well, we can't control that one. I would suggest that has less impact than anything further on this list. Smoking, obviously, I think most people understand the cost of that. Skin cancer, although the risk factor, like the death rate from skin cancer is quite low. We don't want to expose ourselves too much. A little bit is just right. Too much to the point of a burn obviously puts it at risk. Welcome, Irene. This one, of course, I think it's growing in numbers, is being overweight or obese. Genetic changes, I'm not sure what that reference is. I know certain genes can put you at higher risk for certain conditions. ApoE4 and all these ApoOB. You can get those tests with genetic tests, but maybe it's better not to know. Diet, exercise, drinking alcohol, shock and awe, all those good things we try to preach about. And certainly like continued exposure to chemicals, plastics, all these things in our environment. Small doses, probably not a big deal, but doing the best you can to limit your exposure, I think is helpful. Now, certain workplaces are just going to put you in the line of fire there, and that's not ideal. All right. Great. All good. So this is what we came here, and we promised you, like, this is a kind of an expensive DEXA scan, and it kind of takes an algorithm and spits out a predicted number for what your biological age is. I wouldn't say you have to go down this far, but I'm going to show you how to kind of get a sense for what you should be doing to try to reverse aging as best you can. So based off this, the app tells me internally I'm 28 years old. I feel 40 many days, 39 as of this presentation, but soon to be 40. But the good news is a lot of my biomarkers are suggesting things that are operating at a little younger age, which is a positive development. So what is it based on? Well, your VO2 max score, body composition, so combination of body fat. There's probably a sweet spot there, not too lean, not overweight. Visceral fat, that's a big one we'll talk about in a second. And then the resting heart rate variability. Okay. Wearables will track a lot of this stuff for you. And then I'm going to show you a way to kind of figure it out without those if you don't have them. So visceral fat right now trending at 0.39 pounds. For me, you want this to be as close to zero as possible. This is the hardened fat around the organs. That isn't that subcutaneous, that stubborn stuff that doesn't look very aesthetically pleasing. It can actually make it look like you have abs at times when you got a distended belly, but we don't want that, right? And obviously from pictures alone, you can tell it's just hard to the touch. It's distended, like you're bloated all the time. That usually indicates there is visceral fat at play there. The nice thing is your body tends to eliminate this first. When you start losing weight, stubborn stuff, the stuff that you visibly see in the mirror, why isn't that going down? It's probably not to a drastic degree, but the visceral fat is stuff that's linked to, you know, a number of conditions, risk factors for heart disease, cancer, stroke. So you want that as lean as possible. You will never know for sure based off a tape measure and visual guide in the mirror, but you'll have a pretty good sense. Okay. All right. So if it's just stubborn stuff left, you're doing a good job. Okay. So VO2 max, there is ways to get a somewhat good estimate from a walking test. I can share that with you after if you're interested. I actually went to the lab and put a mask on, had to run on a treadmill to get a score. Ended up being 55. I don't know. So good for my age group. Could be better, I think. But the reason we talk about VO2 max is it's insane. If you're above average capacity for your age, risk of premature death is cut in half. So this is one of the biggest benchmarks to strive for. And you can get that to some degree from strength training and the circuit workouts we do. You're pushing yourself, you're having certain sets where your VO2 max is going to be elevated, your heart rate max is going to be elevated. But you do want to do some sort of conditioning to ensure you're optimizing for that. So conditioning I talk about is like full out kind of sprinting on a bike, because that's the safest method, but a treadmill would work too, for upwards of 2 to 4 minutes and really pushing to the point where you want to stop, and then taking a recovery period of equal amount of time. And even just 2 to 3 sprints of that every week or two is going to marginally improve your VO2 max over time. And it does tend to drop with age, regardless what you do. But if you set yourself up well, as you get into your older years, you can maintain a higher baseline. At some point, people's VO2 max can be met just by getting up and down stairs in their apartment, up and down off the toilet. That's when you know you're in trouble. If you're so deconditioned that daily tasks are putting you at VO2 max. So the goal here is to put yourself in a good conditioned place so that you can do those tasks long into your 70s, 80s, and beyond. All right. Makes sense so far? All good? Good. So this is one that you won't be able to test yourself unless you have an Oura ring. It's called the pulse wave velocity. So it's tracking on my finger how fast each wave flows through your arteries from your heart. And the slower, the better. Because a stiff artery is like fast moving, it's restricted. And so the slower this wave moves, the better they can theorize your heart health, your arterial thickness. It's pretty freaky science. So minus 10 years, it seems to line up with the DEXA scan, which is a different software completely, right? So something about what they've tested is indicating this. So I wouldn't read too much into that. Obviously, you can't test that yourself, but resting heart rate and heart rate variability, these are the two that a doctor would look at and think, okay, if they're in a good, healthy range, that's a good sign. Resting heart rate, I would suggest it should be below 60. Some people just are higher strung and they run a little hot on that. But somewhere between 40 beats per minute, 60 is probably ideal. It's just your heart's working less hard at best. Heart rate variability, they're still figuring out the science on this, but a low number is often a cause for concern. Like your heart's just not working the way it should. Sometimes it's just because you had a stressful couple of days and this number will fluctuate. Not to sweat that, but looking at the trend of it is the main thing. So it varies based off age. 80 at my age is a little above average, but if you're in your 60s or 70s, I wouldn't expect to be near this. But if you're in that 40 to 60 range on it, probably good. I've seen numbers that are less than 10 ms, and that's obviously a sign that the heart needs some improvements. All right. I don't know. Do you have an Apple Watch? Does it track this? I know a few of you have Apple Watches. It doesn't track HRV. Okay. Because that's becoming more and more of a telltale sign of a good functional heart, but also your recovery capacity. So the days it's really high, you can probably push your workouts a little more. Okay. So now we'll get into actually things you can do to hopefully reverse aging. And I would be pretty confident if you're consistent with everything on this list, you're going to set up yourself for success. So this is just based off the research. I did an article on this a little while back, but alcohol is becoming a bit of there's a hate on for it right now in the literature and in the public psyche. And people are realizing that, okay, that red wine every night was probably not as good for me as I was hoping. The health halo is gone. But there is a time and place for it too. I mean, social, and that's what number 2 is about, is connecting with friends, having a social life. There's some real merit to that for longevity as well. You don't want to be a social recluse like the guy named Brian Johnson who's trying to reverse his aging. So much so that his last meal is at 11. He goes to bed at 7. He does all these crazy things to set himself up for success, but at what cost? Right? I mean, he's not really living the way we are meant to live. So I think there's a balancing act, but trying to limit your alcohol. And sadly, the numbers keep coming down, but 2 to 3 drinks per week. Maybe do it all in one night. Just make sure you stop a few hours before bed. Then connect with friends, avoid smoking again. The walking one is super underrated and almost achievable for everybody, right? So even just going from 4,000 a day to more than 7, again, it's in line with VO2 max, 55% lower risk in premature death. The weight training, and I like that this one's getting more popularized, and eating enough protein. Like this was often overlooked in Living Forever research, just fast and be this real frail person, but you can live forever that way. We all know that. We want to be functional too. We don't want to just live there sitting in a chair. So weight training and protein. Study of over 4,500 people, over 50, low muscle mass, linked with 3 more times likely to die early. Okay. The get and stay lean ones, this is going to vary. The main standard I would suggest we can all track at home is our waist circumference. And anything over 38 to 40 inches for a man puts you at risk for things on this list, and women 35 plus. Okay. So trying to get under that target is going to be a good rule of thumb. It's also going to target that visceral fat. You likely won't have much visceral fat if your waist is under that. So don't get too tripped up on body fat percentage. Leaner is better, but there's, a point where it becomes very hard to lose those last few pounds and maybe not worth it too, right? Because of the costs, the trade-offs. Blood pressure in range, fasting blood sugar in range. So those things, I don't have the blood sugar range on here, but you can get that on your printout of your physical. And then work again on increasing that VO2 max, or at least keeping it as high as possible. Okay, doable? Any questions on this? No, all straightened away. Okay, go with that. I thought this would be a helpful discussion, just to go beyond weight loss to why are we doing all this? What are the benefits? Certainly, I think living longer is on all of our tasks, our priority list, or at least if not adding years to our life, but life to our years. And we know that all these activities are going to certainly benefit in that regard. Alrighty. Any general questions? Make sure you guys get value for showing up here on a hot summer day. We find participation can be hit or miss at this time of year. But, the replay will be out there for everyone, so I'll make sure I get that in the group. Julie's just jumping on, so we'll have to send her the replay. From there. So going forward, Friday calls and Saturday classes are being removed. We're doing Rebecca on Thursday mornings at 7 a.m. in summer. It's Friday, Saturday, people are in travel mode. You find things really drop off. So Wednesday will be committed to a call with us for a certain topic for you guys, and obviously questions as needed. And Gavin's sessions will be once a month on Thursdays, and then the Tuesday, Thursday classes. Cool. I'll make an announcement on Monday on that, but just so you know. All right, Julie, you missed it already. We ran through it pretty quick. I'll send you the replay after here with kind of a rundown of things. But let me just send you the link quick, or the document, so that you can review that until I get the replay up. It's in the chat. Okay. So hopefully you can click through and view that. Just gives you a quick rundown. Otherwise, you guys have a good rest of your Wednesday. Talk soon. Cheers.
Thanks, Mitch.
You guys.
Bye.